Okay, hey, hello everyone. It is episode 25, thank you, of At Percussion, and today is January 10th, 2016. With me, as always, are Laurel Black,
Hey.
Megan Arns,
Hello.
and Ben Charles.
Hi, everybody.
So with us today is I Jen Fang. She's an internationally acclaimed soloist, timpanist, and principal percussionist of the Charlottesville Symphony and professor of percussion studies at the University of Virginia. So she's my new neighbor here in beautiful state of Virginia. How's it going, I Jen?
Hello, everyone.
So great to have you on. I have a quick question for Ben, since he brought you on as our guest. How do you guys know each other?
We both went to University of North Texas. I Jen Fang finished her DMA the semester before I started my undergrad, so we were actually never there together, but I heard so many things about her, and I'm from Virginia originally, so at one point I went and took a lesson with her. So we've, met through proximity, I guess you could say.
Ben, you need to move back to Virginia.
I one day.
so we can all be buddies and hang out.
I'll just crash at your place.
Yeah, right on. So some sad news happened this week. When the podcast comes out, this will be old news, of course. So I'm not presenting this as a news item or anything, but as you guys know, Pierre Boulez passed away at age 90 in his home in Germany. And I don't know, sad news. What do you guys think, or what were your thoughts when you heard that?
I was lucky enough. I got to see Boulez conduct relatively recently. I think it was it had to be around 2011, 2010, something like that. I saw him conduct Chicago Symphony Orchestra, and I think the concert series was called Boulez at 85 or 86, something like that. And I saw him conduct the Bartók Concerto for two pianos and percussion, Stravinsky Firebird Suite, 1935, and one of his own works for strings only. But yeah, I mean, just a monster, all-around musician, composer, conductor, everything.
He's a legend, and he's somebody that's already in the history books. The newest edition of History of Western Music. He's in those books, so it's really crazy to know that he was alive in our lifetime, and also I thought it was really cool to see everyone's Facebook posts that day of people posting pictures with him and sharing their memories of working with him at Lucerne, or seeing him conduct at Chicago or in New York. Yeah.
Speaking of Lucerne, friends of ours who've both been clarinetists at Lucerne, Kevin's clarinet and my friend did bass clarinet, my friend Ben, I believe we heard from both of them. I know I heard it from one of them that his ear, even at this age, was so amazing that within like a crazy, dense cluster chord that's super dense harmony that, I don't know, you don't expect to hear everything too exact. He can tell, this person's flat, this person's sharp, or this person's playing a wrong note, or whatever, even.
Yeah, and that he was traveling too, and and that he was so sharp and still traveling, and almost all the way up until his death.
One of the coolest Facebook posts I saw, I'm not quite sure who posted it, but I saw a picture. I think Keith Aleo was tagged in it. I saw a picture on Facebook there was this all-star percussion section for Chicago Symphony, and it was, of course, Patsy Dash and Jim Ross and all those people that are in the symphony, but also Mike Burrett, Shi Wu, Keith Aleo, and a few others, and they did ionization under Boulez, that's a pretty killer group right there.
Oh, yeah.
That's fun. That's really fun. So, I Jen, what's going on at UVA right now, or?
Well, the school hasn't started yet. We were starting on January 20th, quite late this semester.
Wow.
And yeah, so I'm glad I still have a week chilling. Well, not exactly, but right. I went to school for a couple of committee meetings because we are in the search of a new symphony conductor.
Oh, us too.
Oh.
Yeah, so are we. Maybe we can like double book them so that they can just they can do a little tour, and we can like split the flight or something.
Yeah, so that's what's up right now with me, and then with UVA, and I'm planning, like practicing for a recital for February in Mary Bowen. It's a drawing recital with a violist.
Are you doing like duos with the violist, or you're both doing half of a recital?
Oh, duo with the violist.
Gotcha. So what are some of the works you're playing?
We're doing this piece called Star Dancing. It's by Moon. I think her last name is Munn. It's for rototom and viola. So
Wow.
yeah, the cool thing about the piece is I need to use the back of the pencil using the eraser to play the rototoms, and it actually sounds really good. Actually.
Cool.
The only time rototoms have ever sounded good.
Yeah.
Something about because you're like erasing the rototom. You're like getting rid of the rototom. I always hear that all the time. I hear people say rototoms are a bad sound. I actually really like rototoms. I think they sound really interesting. I've always been a fan of the rototom.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's the same instrumentation as Michael Kograss rototom and viola piece. The same 4 rototoms. So.
Wow, perfect. Are you gonna pair that piece with it too?
No, because I did that piece with different violist already, so we figured we just do this one. And originally, the violist invited me to join her. So originally, she wanted to be all-woman composer concert, but then I'm not sure what other pieces she's doing now. But the other piece is still in a working process. I actually just got the music today. I checked the email. She sent it to me yesterday. So it's by one of her friends from Stony Brook. Yeah, and it's marimba bass drum with paddle bass drum, congas, bongos. Yes, I think.
Cool. You said this recital's at Mary Baldwin College?
Yeah, so we'll be pretty close to you guys.
That's pretty close to us, yeah. What day is it?
February 28th is the Sunday recital series.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
We'll see what's happening.
Yeah, we can get students to go too. That'd be good.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, that'd be fun. Megan, what do you have for us today?
Well, I wanted to talk about the 100th anniversary of a Gamelan ensemble called Gamelan Gong Kebyar from Bali. And I Jen, I know you've played some Gamelan before.
Yes.
So I thought maybe I could introduce this topic a little bit and we could hear a little bit about your experiences playing Gamelan. So Gamelan Gong Kebyar is an ensemble from Bali, and it consists of metallophones. And I think if you're not familiar with basic types of gamelan, they're from Java and from Bali, and there are many different types of gamelans, and this one is relatively new, seeing that it's only in the past 100 years. So there's a lot of compositions that are still being written for it. And just to give you a little bit of history about the ensemble, the first public performance was in December 1915. And it was a Gamelan Gong competition in northern Bali. And 10 years later is when the first dance was choreographed to go along with this type of music. Now there's lots and lots of pieces, music and dance. And the name Gamelan Gong Kebyar refers to the explosive changes in tempo and dynamics that are characteristic of this style. If you hear it, there's just very quick playing and very quick dynamic changes. It's just really soft, and all of a sudden super loud, lots of contrast, and that's very exciting, energetic type of music. And now it's become the most popular form of gamelan in Bali, and it's also the best known export of gamelan music from Bali as well. So it's very popular in the United States as well. It's based on a 5-tone scale called Pelog Selasir. And these are actually 5 tones from a 7-tone Pelog scale. So it's using tones 1, 2, 3, 5, and 6 of that, skipping 4 and 7. And the rhythmic, it's so interesting, the rhythmic qualities of this music, because it's so fast that, and you're playing with one hand, so the technique for most of the upper moving parts is played with one hand, and you're dampening with the other hand. So can't use two hands.
Those guys move so fast.
Yeah, so it's often split between two players' melodies, and that's called kotekon. And there are many different types of ways to split this up, but
is that
it's all overall called kotekon.
Kotekon is like the word for splitting.
For the splitting, right?
Yeah,
the different ways that you split.
Someone, I'm sure, could correct me if I'm wrong, but the two parts have, is it Polos and Sangsi? I think.
Yes, that is correct.
Yeah.
How do you guys know this stuff? I don't know any of this stuff.
Well, we all played in Gamelon ensembles, which is really interesting, you know, seeing that we're all living in the States. But...
So when I was in school, we studied like snare drum and like tambourine.
No, only Gamelan for me.
Did you guys? We spent all this time doing like crash cymbals. It was really lame. Did you guys?
Mark and I just got there and worked on dampening and.
Sorry.
Ben and I are in the same ensemble, just not at the same time.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. At UNT, right?
Yeah.
Yes, with Ed Smith.
Yeah. Directed by Ed Smith. So.
Well, I guess just to finish up here, the function of this, I had mentioned that the first performance was for a competition. There are often competitions for this kind of music, but now it's also become an essential part of Hindu ceremonies, Bali Hindu ceremonies, and they're required for annual birthday ceremonies for temples, major holidays, as an accompaniment for sacred dances as well. They're often used at weddings, so it's become a part of the cultural and social life in Bali as well. But there are huge competitions for this. So the instruments that this includes is this huge range of tones. So you've got from the very top, it starts with gangsa kantalan and gangsa pamade, which are the smallest instruments. And just to keep it brief here, I'll just go through the rest of them. From then you've got ugal, which is usually the leading instrument, kind of like the concertmaster, I guess you could say, of the group. Jagogan, jublog, or chalang, it's often called. And then you've got gongs, gongade, kempur, and klentong. And you also have a family of kettle gongs, and those are called rayong, and those are often split as well. They're doing kotekon, and it kind of looks like a bass line or something.
Those all sound like races of aliens on Star Trek. Gotek-ong, Kong, those all, yeah.
And pong is another type of kettle gong too. That's used, but it's not. But that's used as a soloist usually.
Mm-hmm.
You can think of a rayong as marching band of Gamelan.
Yeah, kind of like a bass drum line.
The bass line of the Gamelan, because
exactly
the bass line split in how many drums depends on the line, and this is rayong splitting all the rhythm within the rayong line.
Also, I wish I had a rayong here. I could show Casey, you can put a picture on this.
It's
but
like
also rayong are played with two sticks. Yeah, close enough.
Pretty close, right?
Flat though.
Yeah.
Flat.
Yeah.
But rayong are played with two sticks. It's not one stick like the metallophones. And rayong, you actually the sticks are wrapped with some sort of
vibraphone dampening, kind of a little bit, which is really challenging because you have to do it after every single note, and it's a hard technique to master, right? So, and then the technique I had mentioned a little bit the dampening of the gangsas, but you're playing with a mallet called a pangul, and so there are three different ways that you can treat the sound. One is just to completely let it ring, which often happens at the beginning or end of pieces, and also you can play it and then dampen it right after, and another one is to actually hold the key and hit it then as well. So there are three different kinds of sound qualities that you can get out of those instruments.
Now that's the hammer that looks like a hammer like that, right?
Yeah, like an ice chisel or something.
Yeah, on a very short stick. I love showing students video of Gamelon because it's just so clear just like the rehearsal and the discipline and just how much work it must take for them to get that together. And of course, not only to show them what it is, but also just to show, like, look, the amount we need to practice doesn't seem like that much after looking at something like this, it seems.
Yeah. And also, like, earlier we spoke a little bit about Pierre Boulez, and when you think Boulez, you think just, genius with harmony and, being able to solfege things. And after North Texas, I played in the Gamelon at Illinois, which was taught by Pakas Nawa, who is just a Balinese master of this stuff. And the fascinating thing about Pak is he had all the compositions completely in his head, and he could play them from both sides of the instrument. So he could walk up and show you your part from the opposite side of the instrument. And I remember, like, my friend Zach had trouble, like, remembering everything. He was just, oh, Zach, the music always leaves your head. But, like, these people,
funny.
They're just absolute masters of this completely, different style of music than Western music.
So will Boca Raton or UVA have a Gamelan ensemble as an option anytime in the future?
Oh, I wish. However, we have space problems. So.
Yeah. Same
I'm
here.
Probably a firm no here.
Sure.
Yeah, well, this has exploded in the United States, and there's over 100 different Gamelan groups in the United States, and it was brought to the U.S. And many of you probably know that Debussy was influenced by hearing a Javanese gamelan, and that was the first time that gamelan was in the United States, and that was at the World's Columbian Exposition in Chicago in 1893. And since then, well, the first gamelan in the United States was at UCLA. Mantle Hood brought it to UCLA in 1958. But since then, there's, I guess, roughly 2/3 of the states in the U.S. have some type of gamelan ensemble, whether from Bali or Java. Or
that's kind of crazy.
That's way more than I would have thought.
Really
I knew there were a bunch. I know.
Yeah,
that
and they're at
many. That's
universities,
great.
but there are also community ensembles as well. So
yeah, we don't have one at the university, but we have a Javanese gamelan ensemble in Charlottesville.
Okay. Wow. Yeah. Exactly.
There's a Wikipedia page actually that lists all of the U.S. I think actually international as well gamelans.
You can't mention that in your office, Ben. It's Wikipedia. You can't use it.
There. And from that list, there are tons. I noticed in Massachusetts. That seems to be like one of the meccas, and also California, New York, and Minnesota. There are quite a few as well. So it's interesting.
Yeah, there was I've never played in a gamelan ensemble, but I've been to several concerts, and one was in Massachusetts. I was playing the Mannery marimba duo, which is absurd, and it was alongside this Gamelon piece, and then a Gunther Schuller premiere, and I was just like, this is the weirdest concert I've ever been to. And then, but the Gamelon concert that really sticks out was a few years ago at PASIC, when there was this ginormous Gamelon ensemble that played, and I don't remember if they were Bali or Java, but it was amazing. And the thing that struck me was the huge gongs in the back that they hit, and they've got the ginormous mallet, and they hit it. And you just like
you feel them. Yeah.
That's what I'd want to play. Just have me stand in the back.
Yeah, I think I have the technique to do that.
Yeah. So, I Jen, you've actually studied in Bali, is that correct?
Yeah. So other than the Kebyar, there's also Kebyar is used for like ceremony, celebration more than just a ceremony, and now it's accompanied with dance. But the one I actually went to Bali to study is called Gender Wayang, and it's accompanied with for the shadow puppet shows. And those instruments usually come in 4. So like Megan was saying, that there's always pair because they are interlocking together. And the pair, they usually say one is male and one is female. Depends on the tuning. And Gender Wayang is like 2 pairs. So 2 females and 2 male. And the pair, female and male, one pair is a little bigger. So they play the lower tone, and the other pair is higher pitched, and male and female, and you'll play them behind the shuttle puppet show, and so the chapetier will cue different character, and you know what passage you have to play, and instead of just using one pangol and with one hand dampening, you actually have two pangol, and the pangol instead of the sharp end, it's a circle. It's a circle pangol because it doesn't sound as harsh as the Gong Kebyar one. It's a little warmer sounding, and then you play, but you are dampening with back of your hand. So
yeah, like it looks like this how they hold it.
And so you do a lot of this motion.
Oh, right. You go forward and back.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, you're
okay.
playing and then dampening at the same time. So
it's so interesting. Were you introduced to that at UNT?
Actually, I introduced by, I have to say it's UNT, but it's not from any curriculum at school. I actually was introduced by Ed Smith. I went to one of his jazz, concert and in Dallas, and he instead of just playing vibraphone, he brought this Gamelan instrument, and he just started playing. I was like, what was that? And so I was, this is so cool. He actually brought a Gander Wayang and played at both hands and all this crazy dampening technique. I was like, I want to learn that. So I was actually way before UNT has the Gamelan orchestra. So
oh wow. So did he kind of point you in the right direction of who to study with in Bali?
Yeah, actually I went with him.
You went with him. Awesome.
Yeah, I went with him, and he went to study Gong Kebyar. He always refreshes Gong Kebyar because that's what he teaches at UNT, and he just introduced me to his old teacher of Gander Wayang, and so I went to study Gander Wayang, and he studied his Gong Kebyar. So
got it.
Yeah, it was great. It was a really great time in Bali. So
I have a question about that actually. With so were you were just independently studying with this person? Is that it wasn't some sort of program that you were involved in?
No.
And so then how did were you paying for lessons, or was it just they were just sharing their culture, or how did all that work?
See, that's just an interesting part because the teacher can't really speak English either, but I just basically did whatever Ed did before. And Ed said every time when he asked him how much money and something, they're like, oh, don't talk about it. Don't talk about it. They were just want to share their culture, but at the end, at the whole trip, at the end of the whole trip, Ed, before I was there, the past few years that Ed went there, he will give him I don't think there's a term in English, but in Chinese culture there's a red envelope that you put in money in it, kind of we gave out to people for New Year's, and so we kind of felt that type of a gesture, not really giving
sort of like an honorarium,
not giving money for the lessons, more like a appreciation or a celebration, oh, I'm done with this trip, with this journey, and here's appreciation, a token, something like that. So it's kind of depend. You just give to him how much you want to give to him.
Yeah.
When you study Gamelan, what's the extent of the written language? 'Cause you always hear people, oh, I went to Africa for my, to prepare for my dissertation, and I learned hand percussion, and they don't write anything down, and you just have to be there and live there and really absorb it. Is there a written language for Gamelan?
No, I don't believe so, but I know Ed has transcribed it, so the people at UNT can just, not all the pieces, but a couple pieces actually he transcribed it, so the students can just read it and learn it really quickly. Because I believe most people who are in the ensemble are percussionists and who are in gazillion ensembles, and so it would be kind of took too much time or harder for them each of them to learn by rote. But when you are in Bali, definitely learn everything just by rote. So
It is
Yeah.
interesting though, like studying it at a Western university, it is very like transcribable because it's not like hand drums where there's kind of indefinite open or closed, it's this pitch and it's all very mathematically organized from top to bottom of, it's half notes, quarter notes, eighth notes, 16th notes, it works very well to write it out in Western notation. It's just not how they
That's
learn it
not.
over there.
Yeah, right. There's no notation as part of the
Yeah.
tradition.
And I
Okay.
think it depends, here on what the teacher, wants to do or believes in doing too. Because I definitely had different experiences at Florida State and at Eastman. And at Eastman, he didn't want us to write anything down. I mean, you could if you wanted to, but he encouraged us to just record and go back and listen. And I found that to be, at first I was like, oh, I have to write it down. I'll forget it. I have to write it down. I'll forget it. And I was so obsessive about doing that. And over a couple of years, the next year I said, okay, I'm going to try not writing anything down. I'm just going to try listening more. And eventually I found that to be a better method because I was able to learn the whole parts, because Gamelan music is very cyclical. And, so you have to know where the big gong is. That's a very important part in figuring out where the structure is. So I actually knew the music a lot better just by listening rather than, writing it out and trying to memorize it or something.
Yeah.
I had a question for I Jen and Megan. In learning world music, like obviously even though I played in 2 different gamelons, I wouldn't call myself like a gamelan expert or anything like that. It was fun for me, but was there anything that you think you learned from gamelan that kind of informed your Western playing or enhanced your Western percussion playing?
I would say it kind of before Gamelan, I never felt comfortable playing like improvising on drums and stuff like that. But I mean, of course, there's no improvisation really for Gamelan playing, but because it was so fast and so exhilarating that I feel like if I can do that, I can do other things in a way. And so now I'm not as afraid to improvising on things like battery. I feel like I can do free improv on mallets pretty well, but it always comes to the drums. I'm like hesitant, And after that, and also just the way that Ed taught me, like he actually wrote pieces like gamelan pieces for me, like as a duet to play with him, and in parts that he always like encouraged me to improvise. So just using the instrument to improvise, especially is something that you are not expert of, and you can improvise on it, then something else it becomes easier. Sometimes when you like, oh, I know this instrument really well, so it actually restrict you to do something different. If that's the way you have been doing for years. And since Gamelon was something that I didn't know about, and he just asked me to do it like my way, and that opens up my opportunity to do other things. Yeah.
Speaking of you, we've talked so much about gamelan, but the more of what you do is classical percussion, like being the professor at UVA and also the timpanist at Charlottesville and percussionist at Charlottesville. Can you just tell us a little bit about what you have coming up, or if you have a cool solo concert coming up, or maybe what your last cool solo concert was?
Last cool solo concert. I did a concerto. I believe it was last year, but the timing is a little off now because I actually had a baby past summer. So
congratulations!
So after that, I haven't done much solo stuff. But the one cool solo concert I did was premiere 6 pieces. That was like February, I believe. I cannot remember quite. Yeah, it was last year, February. It was premiere 6 pieces by the composition grad students at UVA, and several of those include electronics, and one of them just depends on the feedback, and it records what I play, and then it interacts with the the electronics of the computer.
One of those pieces, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, not all of them are like that, but there were 6 different pieces, and yeah. So that was the last solo concert I did, and I don't have any solo concert coming up per se, but yeah, it's just like the one I was talking about, and then just preparing the symphony, and yeah, so
Cool. Well, great. Yeah, and we will. I'm gonna look at our calendar. Serious about coming to Mary Baldwin and hearing your duo concert. That'd be cool.
that'd be great.
If you ever go to UVA, I Jen has this marimba one. It's like the coolest thing ever. She had like the black keys are like significantly darker wood than the white keys, so like it looks like a piano.
That's funny.
Well, because I grew up as a pianist, and that's why when I order my marimba, I order mine first. I customize that way, and then I know it's possible. So when I ordered one for UVA, I was like, just do exactly the same as mine.
Cool.
Yeah.
Very
funny.
nice. Hey Ben, what do you have for us today?
Yeah, so since we have a Taiwanese guest on, I wanted to talk about a Taiwanese topic. And so I kind of went through some different things and came up with Ju Percussion Group, and specifically their kind of founder, and I Jen's going to correct if I say this wrong, Ju Tsung-ching.
Oh, that's pretty good. Ju Zongqing. Yep.
Also known more commonly, it seems, as Mr. Ju. It seems what everyone calls him. So Mr. Ju graduated from National Taiwan Academy of the Arts, and then he actually went to Vienna to study music. I translated the title of his university to English, was University of Music and Performing Arts in Vienna, and he studied with Walter Weigel and Richard Hochreiner, who we know from, of course, the Hochreiner Timpani books, Timpanist of the Vienna Philharmonic or Vienna Symphony. What is it? Why am I blanking? Anyone?
I thought Philharmonic.
Yeah, I think Vienna Philharmonic. Yeah,
I think so.
Anyway,
yeah.
So after those studies, Mr. Ju returned to Taiwan and served as the principal percussionist of the Taiwan Symphony Orchestra. In 1986, he founded this group called the Ju Percussion Group. One of the founding members was Pei Ching Wu, who still is the principal player in the group. Pei Ching also specializes in 6-mallet performance, and is one of the few people I think that can really manipulate 6 mallets very well. Let's see here. In 1992, Mr. Ju established the Ju Percussion School, which was the first domestically developed percussion education system in Taiwan, and they taught and still teach both traditional Chinese music as well as Western music. And I had a great quote from Mr. Ju on his kind of role of music education. He said, "The fundamental task of creating a good artistic and cultural environment and making music a part of everyday life must begin with educating children." So their educational programs begin as young as 4 years old, and they go all the way up to 16, and then anything beyond 16, they also have what they call adult programs. So really music education from almost as little as you can get all the way up to adults. There's a great article from Percussive Notes in 1996 by Garwood Whaley where he talks about the Ju Percussion School. And in 1996, Garwood Whaley said that this is, keep in mind, 10 years after this program had started, 31 schools in Taiwan, 110 degreed instructors, all of which had to go through 400 hours of training programs, and 12,000 students. And this all happened, like I said, in 10 years in a country that's roughly the size of Maryland. So that's quite an accomplishment by him. And it seems today I think I read 26 Ju percussion schools in Taiwan today, as well as expanded programs in China and Australia. In 1993, he established the Taiwan International Percussion Convention, which has been held every 3 years since 1993. Previous guests have included Lee Howard Stevens, Steve Houghton, Nexus, Amadinda, Svet Stoyanov, and our very own Casey Cangelosi. In 1998, he launched a magazine called Art Circle to promote percussion music and the arts. In 1999, he founded the Taipei International Summer Camp, which I believe is an annual event, and he's the president of the Taipei National University of the Arts. And for all of his contributions to the field of percussion, specifically percussion education, he's been awarded the Lifetime Achievement Award in Education by the Percussive Arts Society, which is, along with the Hall of Fame, those are kind of the top two honors available to percussionists from PAS. So yeah, he's quite a force in the kind of Taiwan music scene overall, and specifically percussion. I know, I think he was Shi Yu's teacher in Taiwan before she came to the States, and has definitely been a link between Taiwan and the U.S. It was interesting speaking a few weeks back with the Francesca Santangelo. It seems like he's the Taiwanese equivalent of her.
It's so
He
big.
sounds like a busy fella.
It's thanks for the shout out, by the way. When I was there, that festival is like the biggest thing that I can think of that happens in percussion. I mean, aside from like PASIC being, you know,
Well, you got the poster right there, I think.
the purple thing behind me with the little infinity symbol is the poster. But you know, I had a group of fellow performing artists, and we kind of would do a concert in this city, then this city, then that city, and we kind of stay together. But we'd coordinate with our other friends and try to attend their concerts, but we couldn't because they would often be in another city, which you had to take a train to go to that stage. There were multiple concerts going on at the same time in multiple cities, and they had this whole plan for us. We had a translator. We'd have like a travel schedule where we'd have to go from here to there, and they had planned for us like a little tour in the, you know, cool scenic area of Taiwan, and then they had us plan to go to another concert over here, and like the opening ceremony, the person to hit a big tam tam to like announce the opening of the arts festival was some big government official. I forget who she was, but it was like the magistrate of something big. Like it was really done like at a really big level. And
so I have a quick question about this, actually, because it's like I'm reading about it. It's like he'll bring in like 15 like international huge artists for this, you know, festival. Is this like state funded, or does he raise the money from his school, or like how is it all funded? Because that just seems like such a huge undertaking.
I Jen, do you know? I don't know exactly.
Well,
I just know there's a lot of help from several places.
Yeah, I mean, definitely there's a government funding, and also it's Mr. Drew, it's a foundation, so it's a non-profit, and so that foundation also fund the event, and I believe they are one of, you know, the top priority for Taiwan government to fund their foundation, because they did pretty much everything internationally, and just all the effort that he did about percussion and about the education in Taiwan, and I think he definitely deserved the funding from the government.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, I think they told me something along the lines of percussion is the second most sought after instrument to take private lessons on, second only to either piano or violin. I forget, but that's pretty amazing. And you know, if you look up Ju Percussion Group, JU Percussion Group on YouTube, you'll get the professional group, like the adults that play the like really heavy, really crazy contemporary music, and you'll also get the young kids. You'll get the elementary school kids like dancing and playing rhythm tubes and rhythm sticks, and it's just it's like Ben said, it's in both places, which is so cool. It's at the really high professional level, and then it's at the really high educational professional level. It's just a really beautiful thing.
The Garwood Whaley article talked about at the Jew Percussion School they sell these little percussion backpacks, and their logo is, oh, I can't remember what it was. It's some little animal, like a frog or it's like it's a duck. He said it was like Donald Duck. And he said the percussion backpacks included these little hammers that when you hit them, they like squeak. And Garwood Whaley said like enjoyed the little hammer so much that he was like annoying his colleagues.
That's awesome.
Squirky, squirky.
Yeah, squeaky, squeaky. Yeah, they must be. Yeah. Wow. Well, I Jen, did you have any experience with Mr. Jew or the group? I think we read that you moved from Taiwan when you were 15. Is that right?
But my first percussion teacher was Mr. Drew's student. So, yeah, and he was one of the founding member in the Mr. Drew Percussion Group. He's no longer there anymore, but yeah, he was one of the founding member, and so I studied with him when I was third grade. And because in Taiwan we have, it's called like a talented music program. You have to audition to get in, and you can start at the first grade if you would like, but this they kind of, it's more like just introducing the theory, and they also take lesson, but the more serious programs start at third grade, and you have to audition not just one particular instrument. Everybody has to audition on piano, and if you have a second instrument, you can audition another one. But you have to audition on like solfege, dictations, and theory, and to get into the third grade music program. And once you get in, and you can pick another instrument. You always have to study two instruments. One is piano, and the other one. So at the time, I wanted to study like flute or harp because the people play them are always so pretty. However, the conductor, we also have an orchestra, so the orchestra conductor look at my hands, and they are like, you have very small hands, and we have too many flutists, and we cannot have any more in the orchestra.
Play the
you have
triangle.
very small hands, so maybe it's good for you to hold sticks. And that's how I actually got into percussion.
Funny.
And now you hold 4 mallets or more with small hands. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's how I encounter this, my teacher who was Mr. Drew's student. Yeah.
Wow. So since you've brought up like studying in Taiwan as a young student, I have a question about perhaps differences you may or may not have seen in between, experiencing musical training in Taiwan and then being a teacher here in the States and receiving students, that have been through, I guess, typical training here. And do you see any big differences, whether in attitude or preparation or anything like that?
Yeah, I definitely see differences. And also just from how I received my education, like here I believe in the States, I don't know the public school system that well since I wasn't born here, but I believe you pick an instrument and you at 5th grade or 4th grade, and then you can stick to it and then you play in the band. In Taiwan, like I mentioned earlier, if you really want to pursue music, then there's a different program. And you can also play in a band, but that's not in the program. Like the people who are not in the program but wants to learn music, they can play in the band, just kind of like the public school system here.
Club, yeah.
Yeah, but if you really want to pursue it, you want to audition, and you want to go to advancing in middle school, high school, there's a talented music program all through high school, and then you can be majoring, like in the art, like where Mr. Drew is president of the school, the college, and then you can go in there to major it. Like here, you can go to the music degree. But I remember when I was younger, when I was even middle school, that percussion was not. It was still quite a novelty, so I couldn't major in percussion. So I have to major in piano all the time, all the way through high school. And finally, I believe like the year I got into high school, that was the first year that percussion can be majored. And yeah, so
were you doing percussion on your own in the meantime? Were you like sneak away and like pad a little?
No, like I said, we had to, besides piano, you also have to pick another instrument. So I'm always percussion minor growing up.
Got it. Right. Okay.
One other difference I've noticed between just especially Latin American students and American students is people around the world can solfege we just
Yeah,
started learning solfege when we're like 18, and it's just not a good system.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. You see
Yeah.
someone who they can just no, you went da dee dee dee, you did like this. What you need to do is, and they're just throwing solfege at them so quickly, and it's cool.
Yeah.
They're solfege chops, yeah.
Yeah, and then I think the solfege system is different. Like we use fixed do in Taiwan, but here the school system used movable do.
Mhm.
Yeah. But I think
and I
Yeah.
don't think that's particularly useful.
We should fight about which one's better. That's fun.
I think it has benefits on both one,
I
That's
think
like
to
so
pick one
fun
and stick
to-
with it, because North Texas used movable dough, and then I went to Miami and they used fixed dough, and I can't do it.
Oh, funny.
See, that's why I do neither.
Yeah.
That's why I
too.
just that's why I choose to just be terrible at both.
Yeah. It is pretty cool though. Like back when I played for a university choir, there was this student from Days from Nigeria, right?
Yeah.
And he could not read. By the time we were, a few years, he could read music, but he had this huge bass voice, and I would play his parts, and he would just like solfege them out in his mind, and that's how he learned them.
Wow.
And yeah, it was crazy, and it just made me think like, why are we not learning this so much earlier and with such importance? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I had a question to kind of stem off of this. This is my first year of having an international student at FAU. And I know I Jen came to the States when she was 15 to study at Carnegie Mellon. So could you tell us about what drove you first of all, at such a young age to come here, and then just tell us about your experience overall as an international student?
Yeah, I think since I started going to the more serious program, the talented music program, I have always known I want to study abroad, because we feel like if you really want to advance your as a musician or music career, you want to go out internationally. You want to go check out the world. And even when I was an elementary school student, I have heard North Texas, but I didn't get to go to North Texas as undergrad. But I know I have to go to the United States. I have to get there. So I was lucky enough that there at Carnegie Mellon, the piano teacher at Carnegie Mellon, Hannah Lee, she's Taiwanese, and she teaches piano there. So she would go to Taiwan every year to recruit students to go to Carnegie Mellon. And of course, she's a piano teacher, so she couldn't really judge my percussion playing. So she video record my audition in Taiwan, and then brought it back to the States, and the teacher evaluate then. And so that's my experience. That's how I actually, and as soon as they say they are going to accept me, it's a funny thing, they didn't really know how old I was, and they just say they want to accept me. So I was like, yes, I'm going. Of course, there was some difficult time with the parents, because they want me to study, but they also think I was really young. So, but we finally come through the agreement, like, okay, they would let me go, and so that's how I came to the States. Yeah, and of course, being an international student, it's hard to start because of the language, the culture. But I think if you just have an open mind, and for me, I'm like pretty a happy person in general, so I think it's easy to make friends, and friendship is very important when you're an international student, because that's who you need to depend on. It's friends in a foreign country, and I'm just really appreciate that all the friends I had through the times that I'm in the States. So
It's cool how all the international students kind of get together at universities, which is so cool for them, because it's not like they're just getting together with international students from their country, but from all the other countries. So it's like you might be going to the States, but you're also getting cultured in like, I don't know, so many different areas. You know, I always look at that and think like, man, I wish I had that opportunity. That's cool. You know.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, everybody can share their difficulty. You know, they all have everybody has sort of a challenges when they are being an international student. So, and that kind of get us together, and so.
What brought
Jen,
you to? Oh, sorry, Megan, please.
Sorry, Jen, is most of your extended family still in Taiwan, and have you ever thought about moving back there?
Yeah, my mom and my sister are both still in Taiwan. Even mainly my husband's family, except my in-laws, and everybody else are in Taiwan. But when I finished my master's degree, and this is funny, I really want to go home. You know, I've been in the States for 6 years. I really want to go home, and I told my mom, and Mom said, okay, come home. We all miss you. And then she called my percussion teacher, Chen Zhenxing, in Taiwan, and he's like, no, tell her she cannot come home until she finishes her doctorate.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, because he's like, if you don't finish your doctorate, you just come back. You're just teaching lessons in different school. You're like traveling all the time. You don't have a tenure track position, then don't come back. And I was like, wow, okay, you know. Basically, he want me, you know, if you want to come back to Taiwan to teach, you want to have a salaried job. So I understand that. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go pursue my doctorate.
Are you a doctor yet? Don't come home until you're a doctor. Not a music doctor either, like a real doctor.
And then the funny thing is that after I went to North Texas and I really enjoyed being a TA in teaching students at North Texas, I'm like, I like it here. I want to teach in the States, so I end up not going home.
Does your mother regret that?
So yeah.
And is that what brought you to UVA? Did you apply for jobs and here you are?
Yeah, I was really lucky. This is my first job, and so this.
It's your 10th year there, right?
This is I just finished my 10th year, so I'm entering my 11th year. Yeah.
It's a beautiful school. It's a gorgeous campus. I have walked through there before.
Oh yeah, next time when you come, please let me know.
Yeah, well, actually, it was years ago, and a friend of mine we were there to visit, and I looked up the music department, and I think you were out of town or something. But yeah, that was a long time ago.
Yeah, ever since I Jen got that job for like a few years, I had been emailing her like, hey, can I take a and every time I was home, she was out of town.
Sorry.
And actually,
keep blowing him off.
We were talking about like how long have you been here? When did you decide to stay and all? One of the coolest things I've ever seen from any percussionist, I Jen was featured on national television on MSNBC when she became a naturalized American citizen. And if you just Google her name and like citizen or whatever, you can find the video clip of it.
Are you performing or is it like an interview kind of thing?
Oh no, it's just because I was naturalized in Monticello.
Cool.
On July 4th.
Wow, that's so cool. When did you decide? Did you decide that you would do that at Monticello and on July 4th, or did it just coincidental?
Yeah, it's cool. They pick you.
Wow.
Yeah, so I was really thrilled I get to do that in Monticello since
Very cool.
I teach at UVA and we all know about Thomas Jefferson, and so it was great that I got to go to Thomas Jefferson's home. So.
Do people there, since Thomas Jefferson is Thomas Jefferson and James Madison is like a competing school, are they ever like, dude, James Madison was terrible for the U.S. and he's so awful, and people here are like, Thomas Jefferson, it's just terrible.
I don't think so. I mean, they were good friends, right? So.
Yeah, I haven't. We should start something because I don't hear anything like that.
UVA
Hey,
JNU volleyball tournament.
yes, yeah, something. It's like way too polite around here. Hey, but speaking of UVA, one of our questions from Facebook, it's just kind of a lifestyle time management kind of question, but Ted Jackson asks, what's it like having to manage both a university job as well as an orchestra job?
That's a unique thing about the UVA. My job it's a combined job, so I get to teach and we also get to perform. So my job description is being the principal of the symphony, also be the professor at the same time. And that's another reason I'm here for so many years, because I love performing, I love teaching, and here we go. Here I go. I don't have to, find my way out to perform. I can just perform right here where I am, and it's monthly performance with the symphony. And I would say the symphony job for most of the performance faculty is actually half of what we need to do as a professor here at UVA. So.
Yeah, and I would contribute to answering Ted's question. It's actually not that uncommon to find that combo. Bill Shaltis, who was one of our guests on here, he had one of those combo jobs in Evansville, Indiana. So he was the percussion teacher at the university, and that was paired with this principal of the orchestra job.
That's what my job was like in Jordan too. It was a joint teaching position.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
Hey Jen, I remembered that when Ben was talking about Casey was talking about his visit to UVA, I remember that I went there when I was younger too, and remember like the rotunda and the lawn, and I remember on the tour that professors used to live on the lawn. Yes. Right? Like teachers and students, is that still a thing, or
they're preserved, right? Like Edgar Allan Poe's writing office is still there, right?
Still there, yeah. And the professors are still living on the lawn. Of course, you have to be, the super professor, but and the students has to be the super students too. Usually, the students living in the lawn at the fourth year. In the lawn, so if you're facing the lawn, you are living on the lawn. Those are for the undergrads, and where the Paul's room are actually outside the lawn. You don't face the lawn; it's the other side, and those are for the grad students.
Okay.
So, and both students who can live in the lawn are, president or doing many things, or many activity or student organizations, and they have to have very good GPA and so on and so on. So
yeah.
Speaking of living on the lawn, I would love to try it here. I wonder if I just set up a tent on the quad and just see. But literally, there was a student at Utah State University where I did my undergrad, and it's really close to Logan Canyon, which is a lot of kayaking, rock climbing, skiing in the winter, and it's a very outdoorsy community there. And there was this dude who did his whole undergrad degree living on the quad and various places. He just had a tent, and he would move it around, and he would camp, because technically there was a spot he could sleep that was by the mouth of the canyon that was outside the city limits, and he was able to legally do his whole undergrad degree not under a roof. And of course he'd stay with friends or whatever when it got bad, but that was really cool. He got in the newspaper and everything. So living on the lawn survives, I guess.
Wow.
Let's see. The one we haven't really talked about, I know you've got a chamber music recital coming up with the violist. And I'm wondering what your favorite instrument is to play in chamber settings, whether it's percussion or marimba or vibraphone or even piano, if you still do that. Rototoms?
Rototom with eraser, yeah.
Or if you have a favorite, style of composition that you tend to always want to play.
I would definitely say I love playing marimba. So I always program some marimba solos for my recitals, or for joint recital, or for duet. But I think I also really love to play new compositions. Especially we have a very good composition department. I tend to read their compositions and do seminar with the grad students here, and so even though I really like playing marimba, I don't think I've ever played a marimba piece written by the students or faculty at UVA. I always play different sorts of combination of instruments, and I actually love doing that too. So for my own choice of repertoire, I'll definitely find some marimba pieces too. But for chamber music, anything that it's newly composed, I'm up for it. So
Cool. Thank you.
Great. Hey, well, thanks so much for joining us today, and Megan and Ben, thanks so much for your segments. And I Jen, congratulations on the baby. That's fantastic. That's
Thanks.
huge. Megan, congrats on your engagement. That's so cool. Yeah, we're so happy for you. That's awesome. And Ben,
You said this off the air, but I just want to say on air that I think At Percussion was responsible for Megan getting engaged, because last time Rob was on here.
because they were.
That sealed the deal.
I'll take it. Yeah, I think so. So
I think it happened the day after he was on. Sunday, Monday. Yeah, it was the day after. That's funny. I met Rob on At Percussion, and we got engaged the next day.
The next
24
day.
hours later.
sweet. Okay, so good. So the podcast is worth the damn. See, it's going all right. Yeah, it's totally worth it. All right. So right on. Hey, you guys, thanks so much. And I Jen, I hope we see you, around for something.
Definitely.
yeah.
We're far away, so.
Yeah. So we'll see you for something for sure. Okay. Thanks everybody.
Yeah,
Catch
thank
you
you for
next
having
time.
me.
Yeah.
Nice
You're
to
welcome.
meet you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.